back in the mid 1980s here in Florida, there was a thriving rock band scene. Uh, there was a lot of nightclubs and bars that had stages and had live music all the time, and all the big hair bands on MTV and all that. That was influencing all the local bands as well, all the local cover bands. So there was a plethora of copycats and people that, some local bands that were writing their own stuff and trying to promote it, but also playing a bunch of cover songs with that. So as part of this local music rock scene that, like I said, was really thriving in the 80s in Florida, there was an agency that kind of blew up and kind of became the primary management of a lot of this scene. They were called Omni Talent. I don't think they still exist anymore. They might in some reduced capacity, but they were like the big deal at the time around Florida. So the way it worked is the agency would identify, they had all these rock clubs all around Florida and some into Georgia and Alabama. So they would have, let's just say 25. Let's say maybe they have 25 clubs for bands to play. So then they would recruit 25 or so good bands that would be good enough to play at these bars. And that's part of the deal with the agency, is the agency guarantees to bring in good bands all the time. And so what they had worked out was like a weekly rotation. So it would be basically a different band every week. And instead of the band just coming in and playing one night, it would usually be at least 2, 3, maybe as many as 5 nights in a week, depending on what the particular venue wanted to have. So these are like bars. It's not like a concert venue where you pay a ticket fee to get in. It's just like there's a bar there. You go in there, you hang out, you spend money on alcohol and food, and there's a live band there. It's that kind of an establishment. And there was a bunch of those that liked to have rock bands, because that's what the audience wanted. They liked the live rock bands at that time, and it was really popular. So this agency was managing that. So they had sort of a rotation where, if you got to be one of these bands, you would hop from, week to week, you would go from one bar to another. And then they had it all set up so that, for accommodations for the bands, you would either stay in some little motel. Sometimes it was a crappy motel. A lot of these places owned what they called a band house, which is like the owner of the property would either own or rent some local house, like literally a house for rent. And that's where the band would stay. And they would deck it out with, maybe it's like a 3-bedroom place or maybe even a 2-bedroom place, but they would put bunk beds in there. And you could imagine the shenanigans that went on in those band houses. But that was the scene that was going on. It was the mid-'80s. It was pretty crazy. Lots of parties and lots of stuff that would not be considered acceptable these days. But that was what was going on in Florida at the time. And the reason I set all this up is to tell a little story about one of those clubs we were playing and an encounter that I had with Robin Trower, the semi-famous rock guitarist. As far as I know, he still travels around. He's getting up there in the years, but as far as I know, he's still touring around sometimes. But he was on tour at the time, and he came through Florida during one of those years when we were doing this. So our band was playing now I guess you'd say a roadie or a sound guy, a sound man at the time in this particular band. So we're playing at this one club, and then Robin Trower was going to come into that same place and just play one night. So we're there for 4 or 5 days. So we set up, on a Tuesday or Wednesday, and the idea is we're going to play every night all the way through Saturday, except for this one night. I think it was maybe a Friday night that Robin Trower was going to come in. So our band had to go in and take down all our equipment so that this other band, the Robin Trower crew, could come in and set up all his stage stuff. And then when they were done, then the next day we would come back in and set back up again. Kind of a hassle for us, but that was part of the deal. So we're doing this. So we played a couple of nights, and then there comes the day, we get in there, 11 o'clock in the morning, and we got to start breaking down our equipment. So I'm doing that. We're taking all the gear off the stage. Robin Trower's crew comes up, and they arrive, around the same time. They're, patiently waiting for us. But as we clear off stuff, their crew members start bringing their gear onto the stage, drum pieces and, amp heads and different things like that. And we even had some of our own light fixtures there because they would have a bar at the back of the stage, and we had some of our own light fixtures hanging up there. So I'm going up there to take down a light fixture. So I go up onto the stage, and I step on this box so that I can get up higher, and I reach, and I'm unscrewing this light fixture. And as I'm doing this, some guy starts yelling at me, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, what are you doing? What are you doing?" And it's one of the Trower crew member guys. And he's like, what are you doing? Get off of that. And I looked down, and I wasn't standing on a box. I was standing on one of Robin Trower's Marshall amp heads. And this guy, he probably would not appreciate that if he knew that actually happened. And this roadie was freaking out over it. So that was the time that I stepped on Robin Trower's head. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe. It'll really help out this channel. And if you want to show your support even more, click the link below to pop over to my website where you can get some cool t-shirts and other merch, including my latest album on vinyl and CD. Right now I'm going to play you some of the music from this album to the end of this video. We'll see you next time.